And now, from Candlestick Point in San Francisco, California, it's the Stick 49er Podcast Show with your hosts, Lucas McLaughlin and Lucas Ortiz. This is a Lucas and Lucas production. This podcast is brought to you in part by Super Tenna. Get yours today. This is an unofficial 49ers podcast and is in no way directly affiliated with the San Francisco 49ers team nor the National Football League. What's up, Niner fans? This is Lucas McLaughlin coming from my studio here in San Francisco. Week 1, extremely disappointing. Kyler Murray ran all over the Niners. Hopefully we'll bounce back from that. Lucas Ortiz is joining me now. We've got quite a show planned for you guys, so stick around. You can't put all the blame on Jimmy G's shoulders, although it's very easy to do so like the media has been. But man, it's a team effort, and with no receivers right now or very limited, it's tough out there, Lucas. Can you hear me?
Hear you loud and clear, man.
Nice. How you doing, Lucas?
Great, dude. Yeah, I spent a little too much time worrying about the Niners, if you ask my wife.
Yeah, this whole thing is kind of on a whim. You just came to mind because you're such a big Niner fan, you know?
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for being here. So we start this week with some awful news. Richard Sherman out 3 weeks. Ouch.
Yeah.
Apparently, we did sign a guy named Ken Webster from the Miami Dolphins.
As a cornerback, right?
Yeah. He got waived by the Patriots.
Uh-huh.
And then picked up by the Dolphins and now waived by the Dolphins. At least that's my understanding. And now the Niners have signed him because, you know, we obviously need help.
Right.
At the corner position.
Right. We're going to be short in the corner position. I mean, we don't really know what Jason Verrett's ability is. We know he has a hamstring injury. We know he wasn't active for week 1, even though he's on the roster. So if he can practice this week and, you know, at least be available if he has to go into a game, that would be ideal.
Yeah. And Witherspoon was pretty good at one point, right? I mean, yeah. Witherspoon seemed like he got worse as the season went on last year. I'm not sure what happened to him. Maybe he can step up.
Absolutely. He started great last year. Like, he came in, he was confident, he was making plays, he was jumping routes, playing guys tight. And then somewhere second half of the season, he just kind of lost his confidence, and we all know what happened with him losing his job to Mosley, and we'll see where he's at.
It became more and more obvious that Mosley was just a better player, but now we need everybody to step up because there's some issues.
He had a good camp, according to people that saw practices. Reporters aren't able to see most of the practices like they normally do, but guys like Greg Papa, Tim Ryan are given a little more access. Keanu Martin, being someone who works for the San Francisco 49ers, is, you know, kind of given some accounts on like how different players are doing. He supposedly had a really good camp, and it was kind of neck and neck between him, Verrett, and Mosley to win the starting job opposite Richard Sherman. Now he's going to have his chance. He's going to have to step up. He's going to come in. He's going to have to prove himself again.
Yeah. Just to go back and talk a little bit about the offensive side of the ball, what's going on with Kittle? Do you think he got injured, or do you think he just had kind of a rough game because they didn't have any other weapons to worry about?
He did sprain his knee, so it looked pretty bad on camera. You saw the hyperextension of the knee. It wasn't a dirty hit, but his cleat kind of got stuck in the ground, and it just, you know, hyperextended, bent the wrong way. He got up because he's a boss and he's toughest guy on the team, and he gutted it out for the rest of the game. But I think he was definitely a decoy the second half. They just didn't want to throw him the ball and have him be tackled to the ground and worsen the injury if possible.
Yeah, and it's tough to be a decoy when you don't have another guy to go to. You know, Pettis is a big concern, and everybody's hearing about him in the media, and I'm sure he hears about it too. But, man, he just isn't putting the effort that we need for somebody in his position right now. You know, he could actually make some plays and show, hey, you know, we're okay. You know, I'm out here. But instead, I'm not really sure what's going on with him.
Yeah, he needs to show up. I mean, he was non-existent. I think they threw to him one time, and it looked like he could have made a slightly better effort for the ball, but for whatever reason, he just didn't go all out and extend his arms. Maybe he was looking at the defender at the time and thinking like he doesn't want to get hit, but Jimmy just does not look his way at all. Like, it's it's frustrating. Like, the guy's got so much talent. He looks great in practice. Everybody talks about his renewed energy and assertiveness, and he gets to, week one, and you just don't see it on the game field. So it's just one game, man. It's not a season.
True.
He shined in the beginning of last season, had a game-winning touchdown catch, and then disappeared the rest of the season. So maybe it's going to happen the opposite way. He's going to have a quiet first game and pick it up from there and have a really good rest of the season. But we'll see what the year brings.
Yes, sir. And what about Trent Taylor? What's your take on Trent? Because he's obviously a little rusty. He was out last year, so.
Yeah. I mean, he got some balls thrown his way. There was a couple that were thrown his way, but the defense just made really good plays. He was covered well. I think of the third and fourth down plays at the end of the game, where it was just kind of throw it up there and see if you can catch it in the end zone on that third down play. And then on the fourth down play, Jimmy was late on the ball and he threw it behind him slightly. Like, it needed to be out in front, out of the defender's reach in order to be completed, or it needed to be delivered about a half a second earlier. I would say about a second to half a second late on that ball to Trent Taylor. But he was getting open. Like, if you go back and look at the film, you're going to see him like open a lot of times. And for whatever reason, either the Jimmy didn't see him, or there was pressure, or someone else was open and Jimmy went to that person. Trent didn't see a lot of balls either. I mean, the wide receivers in general just didn't see a lot of balls. I think Kendrick Bourne had the most catches out of the wideouts and like 2 catches. So
some of the play calling seemed a little conservative to me. I mean,
yes.
It seems like we need Kyle Shanahan to have that confidence in Jimmy G, where they're calling the plays that are going to basically win the game. I mean, there were times where guys were wide open and either Jimmy missed them, threw it short, or he had too much pressure to even look that way. But, some of the play calling, I think, Kyle has to trust in his quarterback that he's going to get the job done and call the type of play that's going to, like they should have used the middle of the field, in my opinion, at the end of the game there. That last play was, they're trying to get out of bounds. They had 3 timeouts. So hopefully they'll pick it up. It was just one game, and there wasn't any preseason, which is really important to note.
Right. I mean, there was rust all around. The Cardinals had rust too. It wasn't like they played a perfect game. We just made more mistakes. We had the late hits on Kyler Murray, which were suspect. The first game of a season without any preseason game, no practice games. So I didn't expect them to look great, yet I expected them to be able to be better than the Cardinals and, eke it out. It would have been great to have that first game come back from behind win. It was just kind of like set up for Jimmy G to come down and just score the game-winning touchdown, but they just couldn't finish it off. They had a nice start to the drive. They had some good play calls to get it close, and then they just couldn't finish it.
I mean, they really had some chances,
Absolutely. It was an entertaining game around, but definitely it was frustrating, and I don't think we played our best game. We got the best play calling that Kyle Shanahan has ever shown us. He's definitely got way more tricks up his bag. Maybe he's just, trying to not put too much on the plate of everybody week one.
Yeah.
It's a long season. We're going to see some crazy plays. We're going to see some trick plays. We're going to see some creativity out of him. And, guys are going to gel. Guys are going to get to know each other. Jimmy's going to get rapport with the receivers. Got to remember, Trent Taylor hasn't played in like 2 years. Jet McKinnon hasn't played in 2 years. Even Mostert, if you think about it, he wasn't really playing the first half of the season last year. So it's not like they have a ton of rapport with the weapons on the team. Kendrick Bourne was an undrafted free agent and who basically just kind of grew up in front of our eyes. And, he was able to gain Jimmy's confidence, but he basically made his living on like third down clutch catches. And we just didn't really see that. Other than one play, I remember he had a really nice third down reception. Kendrick Bourne's got to step it up too. He was basically the number 1 receiver yesterday.
I like Bourne. I mean, I think you could see that Jimmy is definitely confident in throwing it his way. He's going to have to go through his reads and spread the ball out. But when it comes down to it, here's something I was looking forward to talking to you about. What's your take on the offensive line's play against the Cardinals? And are there, because I know that you pay attention to the trenches like no one else. So what take do you have on individual players on the line, and where do you see we could make some serious improvements?
Yeah, so definitely pay attention to the line. Love watching offensive line play. Yeah, of course, I want to see running backs and wide receivers do the thing, but I really love seeing technique with offensive linemen. Trent Williams, got to start off with him, man. That guy's a beast. I'm so happy he's on our team. Joe Staley is one of my favorite players of all time, but you know what? He's a better player. Like, Joe is first ballot Hall of Famer in my opinion. Trent Williams is even better than him. He came in, he looked like 2017, 2016 Trent Williams. I remember one play he knocked a guy on his ass. I think it was got 9 yards back. I'm just thinking, like, that is not human. That guy is a freak. I think they call him the silverback, right? That's his nickname.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he looked every much of it. I mean, the guy is just crazy strong, crazy athletic, moves like a boxer, does everything right. He may have had one pressure, if that, but other than that pressure, he didn't really give up anything. Chandler Jones couldn't do anything. He's normally a killer. I think he got a sack on McGlinchey's side on a more of a coverage sack, but anybody that lined up against Trent Williams didn't really get too far. Solid in the run game. I would have liked to see more runs go behind him and Lakin. It seemed like they were a little more right-hand dominant.
That's what I thought Kyle would do, is just, run the clock down and keep running and keep Mostert. And now we have quite a rotation of running backs. So that part was a little strange that, they're throwing when they could have probably been running.
Yeah, and those are our two best offensive linemen. You want to utilize that size. I mean, those guys are huge, and they're the two strongest guys on the team. They could easily pancake anybody on the Cardinals' defensive line and linebackers. So why not go more that way? Even if it's the short side of the field, put the ball, so to speak, in your best player's hands. And even though they don't get the ball specifically, you want to run behind them. You want to utilize your best players. And those guys by far are the stronger run blocking side compared to Brunskill and McGlinchey. Now, McGlinchey's a good run blocker too, but, Brunskill, he's a little undersized. It's not his best position, but he's learning how to play it. I thought he did pretty decently, although he did give up a sack and some pressures. I would like him to just get a little stronger and, not get so much depth when he gives his pass pro. I thought when the pressure did get to Jimmy, it was usually from the right side, and it was usually because of the center and the right guard.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Lakin. Lakin was also really good in the game. Again, I would have preferred if they ran a little bit more to his side, using him and Trent on double teams and little traps.
It's almost like preseason, man.
Yeah, pull him out, get him out, and just knock some stupid linebacker on his ass like that. That's what I want to see when I watch football. I want to see.
I think that
the big hogs get out there.
More of that next week.
I hope so.
We're not the only ones observing that. I mean,
yeah. It just drives me crazy when you don't go to your strengths. So he had a good game. Now Grasu, the center, he didn't play terrible. He wasn't great, but for a third string center who they had to bring up from the practice squad, he did all right. Like, he didn't really, there wasn't any glaring overmatched plays where he just, gave up pressure for a sack or, just got beat terribly.
That's a tough position, man. People don't realize how tough that really is.
Yeah, and he's a veteran.
How important.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's a veteran. He knows what he's doing out there. He's coming from other teams, and he's familiar with the type of offense that we run. I think he had a little familiarity with Kyle. He did all right. I'm not going to hate on him. He can play better. He's not going to – I don't think he's a starter on most teams, but, hopefully we'll get Garland back. We don't know how the severity of his injury, and we'll see about Weston Richburg if he comes back after he's eligible to return from PUP. So
And then the obvious receiver that's missing, Mr. Samuels, apparently did not practice. They had a practice yesterday, and he did not practice. So
he didn't practice. Yeah, they said he had a setback, and from what I've heard Kyle say, and I think a couple other reporters, is that it was soreness after a pretty physical day that he had. Like he had a light practice where he was doing mostly drills and little or no contact, and he was just sore the next day, and then it continued the next day, and it continued the next day. So that's when he had the meeting with the doctors, and they just kind of said, all right, let's rest you for 3 weeks. Let's not risk playing on the synthetic turf, which is at MetLife, which they'll be playing this week and next week. So I think it
makes you realize how important he is to the club.
Oh yeah, and he's a big part of the run game. We do all kinds of end arounds with him, and he's that's another thing we didn't see. We didn't see any end arounds. Like, we were expecting him to be out there, just as effective running outside with Debo or Ayuk as we do with the running backs, and we just we didn't have that. We didn't have that arsenal against the Cardinals, unfortunately.
This is the Stick Podcast, Episode 1. This is a Lucas and Lucas production, brought to you by Super Tenna. Don't go away, we've got more 49er talk with Lucas Ortiz in just a moment. Right now, a very special segment we call Pat's Picks. You're listening to the first ever The Stick Podcast. Well, what's that? I was told we'd hear that sound. And you know what this is? Pat Summerall with a segment called Pat's Picks from the bar in heaven. Take it away, Pat.
And now, from the bar in the big sky, yours truly here, Pat Summerall. I'm here to give you predictions every week on all the games. My helpful droid R2-D2. R2, are you there? Oh, there he is. Here on the Lucas and Lucas, The Stick Podcast. I dearly miss Candlestick Park.
Jerry Rice!
Called a lot of great games there with my friend John, man. Well, let's get to the picks. In week 2 of the NFL, we're going to go with the Browns over the Bengals, the Cowboys over the Falcons, the 49ers over the Jets, the Titans over the Jaguars, the Packers over the Lions, the Bills over the Dolphins, the Cardinals over Washington, and the Chiefs over the Chargers. Those are the ones I have the highest confidence in, especially the 49ers. Now here's the medium range confidence levels. Eagles over the Rams, Buccaneers over the Panthers, the Steelers over the Broncos, the Colts over the Vikings, the Ravens over the Texans, and Seattle Seahawks will beat the Patriots. I'll also go ahead and take a stab in the dark. The Bears are going to beat the Giants. Well, thank you guys, Lucas and Lucas. I really appreciate being able to pick the games and do this sort of thing again.
Wow, unexpected. Thank you, Pat. I hope you're here every week. That was a treat, huh, Lucas? All right, let's get back to it.
We're kind of skipping around, but what did you think of Kinlaw week 1?
Kinlaw looked good. So he didn't make any huge plays, but just looking at him, his pass rush moves look a little, diversified. Like, he had some nice shedding and blocks and like rip throughs and swim moves to get pressure. I do remember him having a really nice play. I think it was against the center or the guard where he just shed it and got in on the tackle. And then 2 or 3 plays later, he gets pancaked on a double team pass rush. So, there's highs and lows of being a rookie, but overall he did well. The guy's just a massive human being, and he's so strong. And once he gets seasoned and knows how to rush with, second and third moves, a la Nick Bosa, he's going to be unstoppable. Sky's the limit for that guy. I thought he did really well. PFF
Nice.
gave him a nice grade. I think they gave him like an 81, which is really good for a rookie in his first game ever. Like that guy.
So McKinnon, who we haven't seen for 2 years?
Yeah, it's been a while.
I thought he looked
Welcome
pretty
back.
good. I mean, he's obviously going to be a little rusty. And this week, we're going to be a little thin at running back because Mostert's wife is having a baby. And I believe he's not going to be there.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. I mean, we have depth in our running back roster, so I'm not terribly worried about Mostert not being there. Yeah, of course I want to have him. According to Next Gen Stats, he's the fastest runner in the NFL over the last 2 years. So that was an insane run, by the way. That catch and run for a TD in the first quarter.
Oh,
it was
man.
like 22.7 miles an hour.
The longest play of his career.
Yeah. So you want to have as many of those guys on your team as possible. If he's not there, full confidence in Tevin Coleman, Jet McKinnon, and Jeff Wilson Jr. to pick up the slack. I mean, Kyle's proven.
Wilson is still there. That's right. Okay, good.
Yeah, we're good. And if he wasn't there, we could easily call up Jermichael Hasty.
Oh yeah, I've heard good things.
Who looked really good in the practice. You know, I was going to say preseason, but we had no preseason. No, he looked really good, and he was one of the last. He was one of the last guys probably that they had to think about cutting because they didn't want to lose him to another team. Thankfully, there wasn't any tape on him because of no preseason. So not a lot of teams were picking up other people's cuts this year like they normally do.
Yeah. So week 1 was kind of a rough one against Kyler Murray. Obviously, you don't want a quarterback running 100 yards on your defense, which was the number one defense last year. But when it comes down to it, this week, how do you see us reacting from last week's failures as far as quarterback containment goes?
Well, Sam Darnold is not the quarterback mobile-wise that Kyler Murray is. Not too many people are. I would put Kyler Murray up there with Lamar Jackson. I would put him up there with Russell Wilson. Can't really – maybe Cam Newton, but Cam Newton's a different kind of mobile quarterback. He's a more powerful quarterback. Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray we're going to know exactly where he's at. He's got a little mobility. It's not like he's up there, he's not Tom Brady and just standing still like a guy that can't run. He can move around a little bit, but he is not going to have the type of game that Kyler Murray has. We're going to get to him. Nick Bosa is going to have 3 sacks. Kinlaw's probably going to put him down for 1 sack. I think Armstead is going to have a much better game. He didn't really show, despite the big contract in the offseason. I think he had a very, very quiet game, and he needs to pick it up. He needs to do more. If he's going to be paid what he's paid, he needs to make a big splash out there. So we're going to be good. Our defense is going to be able to do their typical get after him, Chris Kosarek run defensive line where they just get upfield and wreak havoc. That just doesn't work against quarterbacks like Kyler Murray. Like he just needs a little, sliver of daylight, and he's off and running for 30 yards. So we're going to get to the quarterback. They don't really have a great number one receiver. Frank Gore is going to be running the ball. As much as I love him, guy's like 40 years old. So don't expect for him to have a great game. Plus, our defensive line and our linebackers are amazing. And if we know that we can take out their wide receivers and get to the quarterback and make sure that he doesn't get a lot of time to throw deep passes, I don't think Frank Gore is going to have too much of a game. He might be more effective in the passing game than he is in the running game. So I look for good things. I think it's going to be a nice get back in the get back in the win column type of game for the 49ers against the Jets.
I hope so, man. I would like to see Jimmy G, when he gets under pressure, to step up into the pocket a little more, and if he needs to, throw the ball away. I know that's a tough skill to learn, and we obviously know Steve Young was brilliant at that.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's something that's so important that you don't keep taking those sacks if you can avoid them.
Yeah.
That's always my critique on Jimmy. But, we did go to the Super Bowl last year, and he had a great year. So I think after we shake off the rust, what's your prediction for a score this weekend?
Prediction for a score. Let's say 35-17. I think we get up big on them early, and they get a couple of late game cheap touchdown, maybe a field goal at the end. I don't really expect it to be close in the second half. I think it's going to be 35-17 49ers, 1-1 after week 2. What
Nice.
say you? What say you, my friend?
I'm going to go with 28-7 Niners.
Nice. And is it going to be not close, or is it going to be close and then they pull away at the end?
I think they just happen to score a touchdown in garbage time.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I'm thinking a
So
lot of garbage
almost
times.
a shutout.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think it's going to be running back by committee, but I think we're going to get over 200 yards on the ground. I really don't think the Jets have a great team.
Look for McKinnon to have a big play out of the backfield for a touchdown.
Yep, I dig it. I think McKinnon, as the season goes along, him and Jimmy are gonna just get better and better with each other. They're gonna start, filling each other's tendencies and knowing each other's nuances. And I think Jimmy's he's gonna really rely on Jet on third downs when he needs him the most.
Definitely. Well, right on. Thank you so much for being a part of the Stick podcast, Lucas.
My pleasure.
Man, it's going to be great doing this week to week, and hopefully we'll have some good wins to talk about.
Yeah, let's get that bad taste out of our mouths, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, brother.
All right, man.
Good
Take
talking
care.
to you. Till next week.
You too. Have a good one.
You've been listening to The Stick Podcast. This is a Lucas and Lucas production. Brought to you in part by Super 10. Buy yours today. Don't forget to tune in next week for more detailed 49er analysis. Thank you for tuning in to The Stick Podcast.
Go Niners. Go Niners. Go Niners. Go Niners.